okay? No, I'm okay, but I'm sleeping. I like to sleep. And because I like sports, I don't sleep at night.
Regardless, let's normalize sleep, please, because we stress
So
too much over
if you
things.
catch me in pockets of sleep during the day, it's normal.
Alright.
I'm good.
But this time we have to be awake
Yeah, but we are awake
for
now.
the stories.
We are
Some of the
awake.
things that kept me awake yesterday.
Please,
Yes.
let's talk about them. Send us
Let's
messages to
go.
be part of the conversation. 0809-444-0981. That's the WhatsApp number.
We're also streaming live on YouTube, so head on there right now, youtube.com, smooth981 FM. Search for that and you'd find us on live. Okay.
Let's start with the very first story.
The very first story. We have that new heavyweight world champion, Oleksandr Usyk, expects a rematch with Anthony Joshua in February or March, his promoter Alexander Krasyuk says. The Ukrainian stunned Britain's Joshua on Saturday, winning by unanimous decision to take the WBA, IBF, and WBO heavyweight belts. Usyk is also interested in a title unification bout with WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury. The rematch was written in our contract, says Krasyuk. When we were talking to Alexander about the rematch, he wasn't upset. On the contrary, he was happy. He was glad and said, "Oh, cool, I'll beat up Anthony twice."
That's what you do when you beat somebody well. You know, it wasn't a majority decision. It wasn't that it was a happenstance.
Yeah.
He beat Anthony Joshua
Yeah, and
for
square.
good measure. Press down.
Shake
Shake it together. It was remaining running over. It was the bell that stopped that running over. And so he's confident that he can do this. And yes, if Deontay Wilder fight were to win his fight, if Tyson Fury were to win his fight with Deontay Wilder, which I think he could, it would have been easy for them to get this fight. But the thing is that the boxing world is so divided, and so because of that, WBA, IBF, WO, they will all bring their mandatory challenges. So before he will even beat all those people and get to Tyson Fury, it'll be because they'll tell him that, okay, since there's already a rematch that was signed in the initial contract that you signed with Anthony Joshua, you have to fight him. And then there'll be all those mandatory fights before he will now get to Tyson Fury. And that's what delayed the Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury fight, which would have been a bloodbath anyways. Thank God it didn't happen. But that's what can hold it up, because the boxing world is so divided. WBO will be saying, we too want our own money.
Yes.
WBA will say, we too want our money. IBF will say, we too want our money. WBC. So there's a lot going on, so that the promoters that want to really push the fights that people want to see cannot just wake up and push those fights, because all the belts that are being held, the different people will now want one mandatory challenger to come in, as opposed to the big fights you want to see. So, but this rematch with Anthony Joshua is definitely going on. The question was when. So now we are hearing February, March, which is pretty much the same thing Eddie Hearn said after the fight. So we wait to see what happens. But yeah, I think the only person that was stunned that Anthony Joshua was beaten was Anthony Joshua, and people that don't watch boxing. Because even I was afraid for him.
Plus his coach.
Everybody else that watch boxing, they were afraid for him. They said, this guy, he fought amateur boxing for 8 years. It's not an easy man. No. He's a hustler. He has stamina. He has pace. He will beat you. Anthony Joshua was the only one that would have been stunned. I wasn't stunned. So let's wait and see how this pans out.
Yep, let's wait and see. Now, four-time Olympic champion Simone Biles says that she should have quit way before Tokyo after withdrawing from 5 of her 6 finals in Japan. Biles spoke in 2018 about being abused by team doctor Larry Nassar, who is now serving a life sentence in jail. It was too much, the American says, but I was not going to let him take something I've worked for since I was 6 years old. I wasn't going to let him take that joy away from me, so I pushed past that for as long as my mind and my body would let me. Leading up to it, she said, I got more and more nervous. I didn't feel as confident as I would have been with as much training as we had.
Okay, so her issues were real. So the gymnasts were on the gymnasts right now. They're on a tour of America, and so all the questions kept popping up back to her, and she had to answer them honestly. And so for clarity, she had this thing called Well, it's an informal name, but it's also become formal. Twisties. So when the gymnasts are in the air, they are questioning, they're second guessing themselves. And it's very dangerous because if you don't land on your feet, you land on any other part, you will break things. Not something, but several things. So it's risky for her to have her, which is why the team said, you know what, don't go out. Because if you are questioning yourself, when you're on the bar, when you're in the air. You see how they, I mean, some of us cannot even walk in straight line on flat road. Then,
Or drive.
or
In your
drive in
lane.
straight line in your lane. Some people think that the white line is
As,
to
as,
is to
if
give
it's
color
not,
to the road.
if it's not there, then
It's to give color to the road. But so you can imagine having twisties when you are on a beam or you are in the air. It generally happens when they're in the air because now they're thinking about, okay, how do I land? Will I land well? So that second guessing of yourself in it's just wrong because everything about gymnastics is timing, and then you don't land properly, and it's a problem. So they were absolutely right to not feature her in all those events that she didn't feature. So it was a great thing that she didn't do all of that. So she was talking about it, and she said, even prior to the tournament itself, she had already started seeing somebody talking to the person. But when they had to get to Tokyo and they couldn't go with their family, of course, they couldn't go with whoever they had to see, she I mean it became worse because now she's cut off. And so I do remember Venus talking about this thing. Venus and her older sister Aisha. Everybody knows Venus's older sister Aisha. She's that girl that's always at Venus and Serena's match. I think that girl doesn't have it. She's always there. Every time Venus and Serena is playing, you'd see one chubby pretty lady. She's always at her matches, always at their matches. I think the only time she missed was when she was younger and in school. Apart from that, she travels with them everywhere.
That's amazing.
She's a big sister, a big sister you should have. So they were talking about how much support is. That sometimes she doesn't even want to get up, and Aisha is the one like, oh God, my friend, get up and jog. you know, Aisha is the one that's always there. So, and sometimes when they say they don't feel it, Aisha is like, you know what? You've worked hard, you've played very well, you're not weak, you're not lazy, you're not indisciplined. Maybe your body is telling you something. Then you sit down back. So they spoke about it. So it's a real thing with athletes. It's just that we haven't talked about it, and then some athletes, use it when they fail or when they lose, which is normal in athletics because it's not failing, it's losing. When they lose, and then they start to use it as something as an excuse, but it's a real thing. And so I'm glad we're talking about these mental health issues and the support. Like I have never seen Sasha Zverev without his family. Maybe that's why he's a little spoiled, but his family. He was the one that they coddled. His brother Misha played tennis long before Sasha did, but with Sasha, everybody's around. Everything has to work for Sasha. So his father is a coach. Even if they hire another coach, the father is Shade. Misha is always up and around. So that support system is really, really important for athletes. And unfortunately, at Tokyo, a lot of athletes couldn't go with that. So yes, you say yes, they have to be mentally tough and do this and do that. They don't have to do anything. They just have to go and perform. So yeah, so Simone Biles has opened up about that, and it's a huge deal. And I hope we talk about it soon.
All right, excellent stuff. Let's go. I think yeah, Dapo had sent something around AJ needing to change his coach and training team to stand a chance in the rematch. And
He
then-
just needs to talk to me. He needs 5 minutes with me.
Idowu from Festac says the guy that was quiet for over 65 minutes. One moment of brilliance is all he needs. Messi! He said. Well,
We'll get to that story,
and
yeah.
we'll conclude this message.
And that leads us nicely to unstoppable Lionel Messi. Glided forward from the halfway line late on against Manchester City at the Parc des Princes. Played a 1-2 with Paris Saint-Germain teammate Kylian Mbappe and left goalkeeper Ederson rooted to the spot with a shot beautifully placed into the top corner. It was the first club goal of his entire career that had not been scored for Barcelona and sealed a 2-0 victory for the team who signed him primarily to lead them to Champions League glory. Messi said after the match, "It's true that I was getting desperate to score my first goal. I hadn't played much recently and I'd only played once here at home, but I'm settling into the team little by little."
Yeah. So I would say this before we get carried away. You know, I heard a lot of analysis on this particular match, and so people were talking about how PSG managed the game well. Rubbish, absolute nonsense. PSG was saved by one fortuitous goal and one brilliant goal. Everything else they played was nonsense. I have never seen such a talented team and a how would I put it? An almost complete team play such horrible football. There's nothing you can tell me. The football is not, it doesn't have to be pretty, but you have to see some structure, you have to see some communication. It's not there. You know, and people can argue about Mbappe. So over the weekend, after PSG, after PSG's match, they came. There was a video that showed Mbappe telling the other guy that scored, the other player that scored the first goal, that Neymar doesn't give him passes, and it became a big thing. And I saw it again yesterday. Neymar is the guy that he has blended with Mbappe being in PSG, but he has a solid relationship with Messi. And for some reason, he feels like he either has to play with Mbappe or he has to play with Messi. And I'm thinking, no, my darling, there are three of you on this team. You can't ignore one during one build-up play and try to play with the other person during second build-up. You have to play with yourselves together. And sometimes the better pass would be to Mbappe and he'd be looking for Messi. It's rubbish. Just remove their names and play them. If they were on the pitch, just play the ball. So yes, you can see that lack of communication. And for me as a coach, when you're watching the video replay, because you have these videographers to get you the videos after the match. When you're watching it, you're like, you tell your key guys, I mean, you can't teach, what do you want to teach Messi to do? But you can show him that, look, in this play, you were hesitant to move the ball here, and that was the better pass. Neymar, you were hesitant to give the ball to this person, and this was a better pass. And so sometimes they need to see that's where the communication comes in. They played horrible football. The only reason they won yesterday was Manchester City was more horrible. So it was the better of the horribles that won. So fantastic result and good thing that Messi scored his first goal. I'm a bit hyped that football has been reduced to just goal scoring.
Yeah.
So when they're saying who is the greatest footballer, they'll be counting goals. Rubbish. Because somebody scored 101 goals. I should forget how Zinedine Zidane played football. Come and erase my memory. Let me see. So it's a huge deal for Pochettino. He has to resolve it. I'm not sure he's the coach to resolve it, but I would say this. He's the coach that they have now, and that's the job he has to do.
Thank you. Let me complete those message. It said that City's loss was a relief balm for Chelsea fans. Them happy guys. How can Real Madrid lose to police? Police, oh! On that note, to take a break, we'll be back to read more similar messages on WhatsApp. That number again.
0809 444 0981. Oh, yeah, give us halftime gist.
Hey, am I the gossip center?
Yes.
No, you are the one.
This is not a room of budget.
There's no gossip. There's no gossip. There's no gossip. I just want to sleep.
Okay, you just woke up.
I didn't just wake up. I woke up since because Lakumi woke me up.
Why should we do that?
Lakumi, she wanted me to sign away my life. I don't know what I signed though, but it's Lakumi. She's honest. Lakumi, oh, Lakumi. So no, that was Yetunde. Yeah, Yetunde that died.
Yes.
That's not
they were
Aisha.
showing her siblings. So I just
Okay,
all the
okay,
siblings. So I
okay.
saw Aisha. So Aisha is not even a Williams. She's a Price.
Well,
Her mom's first marriage.
Yeah.
So Aisha Price. So yesterday they talk about yesterday first. Then the other siblings. Then they have brothers from her dad. I said they are like 15 children.
yes, they're a huge family.
Such a huge. Because there's even one from before marriage.
Yes.
Then after because
Yes.
their mom and dad are not together anymore.
Yeah.
There's a young.
So the
girl.
the father left. Of course, the father when he was traveling with them, he was seeing young girls. So like, the mother just said, "It's time you go."
Yeah.
So he left and got an even younger girl.
Are you serious?
So yeah, like Beyonce's father got a younger girl.
Yeah.
So I remember there was this even this issue that when they even split with their coach, like it was
They
about the
sacked
same
him
time
and
they sacked him, but they're still taking care of him, but they sacked him.
yeah.
So there was a
I think
time
they have
that
a close family. They
uh,
said in
I think the younger girl now brought her own child and wanted Serena.
Yes, yes, yes. I
Serena was
remember.
like,
Yes,
"What's wrong with you? Get out of here!" Nothing
But I
else.
hope the US will not compel her. Being if maybe something happens to the dad, will she be compelled to look after the children?
No, I think she'll probably help because it's her
Yes,
brothers.
yeah,
But
yeah,
don't come out with your
yes,
entitlement.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
like Nigeria here. They'll be like,
yeah,
they will
yeah.
shame you
They'll
into
shame
taking
you
care of
into
your
doing
family.
it. Yeah,
You can't shame the shameless
yeah,
there. Yeah,
yeah.
she's not responsible for your
They
child.
say that she was on the guy, so I'm sure she has a good relation. They seem to all have a good
Yeah,
relationship.
she's actually they're still in a good relationship with their father
With
because
her
I know
father.
even when she was pregnant and all the father was very sick. They were talking to him. I think even during COVID he was the
Okay.
one they were worried about because they're always watching who was going to take care of him, how, because it was not just about sending money now. It was ensuring that even if the money got to him, that the nurse is able to come, all those things. So I know that they're very close to their dad.
That I've invested in them a lot, though.
Oh,
To be
they
honest, like in terms of their tennis
yeah,
career.
they're very close to their dad. I think their issue was again it's children that suffer because you are very close to your dad
Yes,
and
they
you
are
love
close
your
to the
mom.
mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because their mom also travels with
Yeah.
them. She's their emotional support. She's a rock like that. Yeah. As old as she is, sometimes you see her, she's on the court, she's wearing her sunglasses, she's sleeping.
But that's the thing now. It's like like love and basketball, right? You see how she was partial to her dad because her dad was the one that was always there.
Yeah, yeah.
He had a natural passion for
Yeah, for
basketball.
basketball.
This one too, I think their dad has a natural passion for tennis. Obviously, it was their coach. It was
Yeah.
their coach. So their mom might not really have an interest in
Yeah,
tennis.
their
but-
mom is just really there for them.
Yeah, just
So
so she can be
they
sleeping.
absolutely love. So it's a tough one.
Yeah.
So they like the father, but he has this other small girls. I think. So when they ask them, "Oh, who are you with now?" I'm with Serena's father. Yes, now would you say
I mean,
who knows?
yeah.
You have to say it
Serena's
now. You can't
father.
say your name.
Who are you dating now? Beyonce's
You
dad.
have to link. You
Of
have to link
course,
it.
they're
Connect it.
in it for the money.
All right, we're back. 6 seconds.
Let's go.
Smooth breakfast.
Yeah. Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. In the locker room with us, with Tega Supreme as well. Valentine Uhu.
And Ayo Myro Esek.
LK at Derogba on YouTube says, I agree with Tega. PSG played horrible football, but I don't agree that City was worse.
Okay.
City dominated the game, but we're not clinical. More fatigue from playing Chelsea just few days prior.
Okay, so I will tell you something out there, but the fact that somebody is holding the ball doesn't mean he's dominating. Because if they leave the ball for you because you're not using it to do anything, you're not really, they've left it for you. So the fact City will hold possession when your possession is of consequence to me is if there's progress or if I can see that something is happening. There was only one play in the entire 95 minutes. Only one play, the one that Bernardo Silva could have put the ball across the line and he didn't. That was the only play of memorable impact that City had in 95 minutes. So that they were holding ball, many people hold ball now. Doesn't mean that they are the ones that are leading.
After all.
All
Now,
right,
let's talk
that-
about this one.
Just for them, that was still on the PSG City
Okay.
game. Says I agree with Tega that PSG didn't play beautiful football against City. Truth is, not many sides can. However, PSG looked better than they did in previous games and showed how resolute they can be defensively.
Yes, so defensively, they were beautiful. That midfield to the front, horrible. So you see, I like locker room people. In fact, one of you should be coming into the studio to weekly to be
should
giving
have
me
fan
analysis.
day,
We should
actually.
have
Just
fun
have-
day.
yeah.
Don't be. We'll
The
think
lights
about
up,
it. We'll work
yeah.
on it. But
Yeah.
let's go to the
Yeah.
next story.
Thank you. Sheriff Tiraspol pulled off one of the biggest upsets in Champions League history on Tuesday by beating Real Madrid 2-1 at the Santiago Bernabeu, with Sebastian Till smashing a stunning 89th minute winner. For us, this is a dream come true to have won here. We're so happy and just enjoying it, said Frank Castaneda, the Sheriff captain. He says, we came here to win. We didn't just come here to sit around. We know how good our players are, and luckily for us, Madrid weren't able to take their chances, and we took ours.
I like this guy. He said we came here to win. However, he also acknowledged that Real Madrid didn't take their chances, and that's what it came down to. It was Real Madrid not taking their chances, and I don't know if it was um if they looked down on Sheriff a little bit, because Sheriff came through the qualifying process and then got here. But I mean, after the person you looked down on scored the first goal and you struggled to score the second goal, in fact, the only reason why you scored the equalizer was through a penalty. I think that's when you sit up and say, these people are not, yeah, these people are no minnows. That's when you sit up and play a better game. But Real Madrid didn't. They just never seemed to shift gear from 1 to 2. It was a flat performance, in all honesty. However, not to take anything away from the Sheriff side, you're playing at the Bernabeu. The stadium is white. Do you understand? Everything, it's Real Madrid at home. There is, it's not, it's not necessarily loud. It's just intense and intimidating. But they shook all of that off, and I think maybe because half the stadium is still covered, wrapped up in cloth. But I mean, they shook all of the drama and the pressure off, focused on their game, and got the goals that they needed. Yes, Real Madrid had a bad day, but the only reason Sheriff benefited from Real Madrid not taking their chances was because Sheriff themselves came to play football and took their own chances. Some people would have been happy to go away with a draw, but they came out to play. They scored 2 goals and they won that game. So yes, horrible day for Real Madrid, but absolutely, absolutely amazing day for Sheriff. The only reason why we are not dragging Real Madrid today is because normally Real Madrid fans are not. They
Let's
don't have
drag them.
banter.
Apparently, we have one massive fan in Emeka's office. Emeka from Amoa says, my colleague at the office who is a Madrid fan was so confident of Real Madrid's victory.
Me
and
that
he
was.
made a bet that if Madrid lost to Sheriff, he will come to the office today in a clown suit. Our office is like a circus right now, from Hala Madrid to Haha Madrid. Only Atletico Madrid, the Madrid team that is making us proud right now.
Olufemi Omotayo says there's actually a new sheriff in town. The lowest ranked club totally deserved their win over the most successful UCL team.
Wow. Chinwe Nancy says, everyone beware. New sheriff is in town. Madrid have no excuse losing at home to Sheriff. Come on. Sheriff defeating Real Madrid is a taboo.
She is the way she said it to me.
What's his name was dragging them. What's his name? Oh, okay. He sent this message earlier. Said they lost to police.
I'm telling you, police.
All right, so Chelsea midfield and N'Golo Kante will not be involved in Wednesday's Champions League group game at Juventus after testing positive for COVID-19, according to manager Thomas Tuchel. Tuchel said he does not know how many of his players are vaccinated, and although he has taken the jab, he will not force others to do so. He said, we're a reflection of society. The players are adults and they have a free choice. We should accept it. This is more or less all I can say. I know the situation is far from over. It makes you very aware it is not over.
Okay, so he's not vaccinated. So let me get to this. Let me get to the situation. Or let's divert a little to this vaccination thing. See, their own case is that you show up for vaccination, you get your vaccination. You register, you show up, you get your vaccine. Not like me that I've gone twice. and they've said, oh, vaccines are finished. I mean, for the life of me, which is why I'm taking this detour. For the life of me, if you say 100 people registered for the morning session, you should have 100 vials of vaccination. Then have maybe 20 for people that walk in.
For extra.
Yeah. Have maybe 20 vials for the walk-ins. After the morning session is over by 12, if the 100 people didn't show up, then you can give their vaccines away to people that walk in. Not that people will walk in at 7 a.m. I will come at 9 a.m. and there's no vaccine for me and I'm registered for morning session. I do not understand it. So now I'm on your website as somebody that came to collect vaccination and I'm not vaccinated twice. Anyways, their society is different. So I've detoured, I've come back. Their society is a little different. You will get the vaccination you registered for. And so I don't understand why they're not getting it. But I like the way the NBA is in it. The NBA saying we are not forcing you to take your vaccination. However, the law says that you must have at least 1 dose of vaccination to come into an indoor event.
That's it. If you like, vaccinate.
However you want to do, you must have at least 1 dose. Prove that you have taken 1 dose.
We shall obey the law.
Indoor. So we are not saying you should not vaccinate. We're not saying you should vaccinate by force.
Yeah.
We are just saying that that's the law. So for players that are unvaccinated, you will have to follow the law of the land. If you have to turn up a negative test and then quarantine for 10 days, and you know you're only in that city for 3 days, that means you will miss the game. So far, 90% of NBA players are vaccinated. Some people are looking for religious exemptions like Andrew Wiggins, and I know he's a very religious boy, very strong Christian boy like this. But I know he's looking for. I suspected he'll be one of those. Kyrie Irving, of course, is another one I know that one that said that the earth is flat. I know you also have some scoring win. So, but 90% of NBA players, the season starts in October. 90% of them are already vaccinated, and more will be. They did not force you. They just said this is the law for indoor competition, and we play indoor. So you determine whether you want to play and collect your money. And it's not like the football; they have to wait to summer or January to transfer you. NBA, they can transfer you whenever. They just they just trade you when they are ready. And if there's no team to buy you, you're on your own. So it's a tough one, but I think they need to do it. But on the other note, it's a really tough blow for Chelsea. So they don't have N'Golo Kante, Mason Mount, Reece James. Those are the players that are missing. But they're coming up against a Juventus side that doesn't have any known scorer because Morata and Dybala got injured over the weekend. And those are their goal scorers. So it's not set up to be as big a game as it would have been. Another game that will come in today is Manchester United Villarreal. Okay. That's a repeat of the Europa final. The difference is that Manchester United will now have Cristiano Ronaldo. So maybe they won't suffer against Villarreal. But it's set up beautifully for a revenge match. Unfortunately, there's no trophy at the end of the game. So it doesn't make it's not real revenge. It's not the same. There has to be a trophy. Then the revenge will be complete.
What does social mean by you need 10 or 12 points to go through?
He needs to come out of the group. Okay. So far he's lost to Young Boys. If he loses to Villarreal, it makes it even tougher. So what he wants to do is he wants to win this one. Okay. That's important.
Yes, indeed. So we have from Richard who said, let's also not forget the brilliance of PSG's goalkeeper Donnarumma, and their defense was 99% spot on for the victory.
Yes, Donnarumma was good. Keylor Navas, that bench is comfortable. Just sit there for a while, eh?
Okay, there we go. On YouTube says quite apt on reducing football to mass goal scoring. People have merged highest goal scorer with best footballer. We've forgotten likes of Zidane, Ronaldinho, Figo, etc. When we're not necessarily high scoring players. And he asked why Tiger likes standing while conducting analysis. I also appreciate YouTube.
They all see how I'm standing and they're still almost my height. Do you understand? You want to imagine what I do if I'm only 5'3", my darling, 5'3". Okay. There's no distance between me and the ground.
A lot of people because your voice is definitely taller.
Oh no, my attitude is like 6'9".
And 350 pounds.
Thank you.
Stay with us here on Smooth 98.1. We have music lined up for your listening pleasure.
Sporting world never loses its action because the game never changes.